No one expected the Millionaire's autistic twins to find peace with anyone, let alone with the 14-year-old daughter of the maid. But that's exactly what happened the day Miles Langford came home early from a business trip and walked into his home office to find a scene he never could have imagined. Lying barefoot on the marble floor was a teenage girl, braids messy, jeans worn, completely out of place in the Grand Connecticut estate. And yet, around her, his twin boys, Leo and Oliver, played calmly, quietly stacking blocks in neat, color-coordinated rows like they weren't the same children who'd spent the last year screaming through therapy and destroying half the mansion. "What the hell are you doing in my office?" Miles snapped, voice like a whip. He looked exhausted, expensive suit creased from a delayed flight, but the shock in his voice wasn't about fatigue. It was about control, his control, and the fact that it had clearly slipped. The girl, Elena Morales, didn't flinch. She simply looked up and said, "They were panicking. Your wife ran out for medicine and asked me to stay. They know me." Elena's mom, Rosa, had worked as their housekeeper for 5 years. Always quiet, always discreet. Elena had grown up on the sidelines of this house, never truly seen, only tolerated. But that day, something had shifted. Because Elena knew meltdowns. She knew them better than any of the 17 specialists who had come and gone from that house. She had helped raise her cousin Mateo, who was nonverbal and deeply autistic, in a neighborhood where therapy was a luxury and understanding came from necessity, not degrees. Miles didn't care. He told her and Rosa to leave immediately. Fired, just like that. Elena didn't argue. But when she turned to walk out, Leo started crying, a deep, guttural wail that didn't sound like tantrum, it sounded like loss. Oliver whispered, "Please don't go." First words he'd spoken in weeks. Miles hesitated. But his pride won. He hired another expert, a European therapist with more letters after her name than most medical journals. She lasted less than 7 hours. The twins broke a $60,000 chandelier. Oliver locked himself in a bathroom. Miles called Rosa, begged her to come back. She agreed on one condition: "My daughter comes with me." He refused. No unsupervised teenagers. What Miles didn't know was that Elena had recorded everything from that first day: his dismissive tone, his refusal to listen, the moment the boys calmed at her touch. She wasn't just a teenager playing babysitter. She was watching, learning, gathering receipts. Because Elena understood something people like Miles never could: when you grow up underestimated, documentation becomes survival. She started connecting dots. Miles wasn't just wealthy, he sat on educational boards, spoke at conferences about excellence in child development, praised by media for funding pediatric research. His entire image depended on the illusion that he knew what was best for children, especially his own. But behind closed doors, he was ignoring pediatric advice and overmedicating his sons to sedate their behavior instead of understanding it. That's when Elena met Dr. Lucas Reyes, a child psychologist who had been quietly pushed out of private practice for questioning standardized treatment models. He listened to Elena's story, her methods, how she had calmed the boys through sensory techniques and gentle rhythm. "What you did," he said, "is called responsive sensory intervention. It's what we try to teach grad students. You figured it out on instinct." Together, they built a case. When Miles announced he'd be the keynote speaker at a luxury parenting summit, Elena saw her opening. She walked into that ballroom like she belonged there. Dr. Reyes asked a question about Miles's methods, about his results. Miles, smug, rattled off credentials and medical jargon, eyes glinting under stage lights. Then Elena stood up. "I'm Elena Morales," she said, calm but clear. "I'm the girl who calmed your sons in 20 minutes when your 17 experts couldn't do it in 6 months." The room went silent. Cameras zoomed in. Miles's face drained of color. She played the video. The twins mid-meltdown. Then her voice softly singing in Spanish, hands moving with theirs. Calm returned like a tide receding. Then, she played a second clip. Leo and Oliver, medicated, vacant, staring through walls. The audience shifted. Journalists raised hands. Mr. Langford, how do you justify drugging your children while rejecting proven behavioral methods? Dr. Reyes spoke next, reading prescriptions, citing consequences. Elena presented printed interviews. Miles criticizing undertrained teachers and praising scientific rigor. Then she asked, "So tell us, was I unqualified or just inconvenient?" Miles's fall was brutal. He lost clients. Boards distanced themselves. Custody of the twins was transferred to a therapeutic foster family. Elena became a name invited to speak at universities, mentor under Dr. Reyes, awarded a full scholarship by a neurodevelopment research lab that said her instinct rivaled formal training. 3 years later, Elena founded a community clinic that hired caregivers based on lived experience, not resumes. Miles applied to volunteer. She declined not out of revenge, but because he still hadn't learned the first lesson: humility. If you're reading this and still asking yourself whether a 14-year-old girl should have had this much power over a millionaire's legacy, maybe you're asking the wrong question. The real question is, how many kids out there are suffering right now, just because the person who gets them doesn't look the part? And how much longer are we going to keep mistaking privilege for wisdom? Tell me, was justice served? Or did everyone lose something here?